You ready? You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Real Pineapple. Your humble host, Hunter. Happy, what's today? What is time? Thursday, right? Yeah, Thursday.
There you go.
To y'all, happy Black History Month. This is our this is our first. Yeah, this is our first Black History Month podcast. So I'm going to be doing several of these throughout the month for Black Cinema Showcase. So next week I'll be doing Malcolm X, which I'm real excited to rewatch that. It's been a minute. And then I will have my guests here that I'm about to introduce back next week to talk Watchmen, because I have somehow avoided spoilers on Watchmen this whole time, and I don't know what happens. I'm real excited to get into that, but I don't want to tempt fate anymore. So first off, I've got a pretty constant. I think he's actually the most consistent quote guest that I actually have on the pod, because I don't really have guests on outside of outside of him and Nick. He is a contributor for oneofus.net, hater of condoms everywhere, Canada himself, Bradley. How you doing, Brad?
Hello, good. Thank you. I didn't know you meant me. That's very nice.
Yeah, man. Like, I think you've been on the show like seven. Like, I was actually doing the math. It's like you've been on like 8 times. Like, I think Nick's been on like 4. So you actually have like Nick doubled up. So yeah. So congrats. Doggett still hasn't been on yet, and I kind of want to keep that streak going, to be honest. Like, it's just a funny joke to me that like, it makes me very happy that Brandon is going to be on the show first before Doggett is, which I know he's going to be like, God damn it. But, like, I might delay watching Percy Jackson just so I can't review with Doggett. And then rocking the amazing Boondock shirt here. First time guest. I've got Brandon on. Brandon, how you doing, sir?
I am doing very well. Very good Thursday for me. Very chill, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for making the time, both of y'all. I really appreciate it. So we're gonna just kind of shoot the shit here a little bit. So before we get into our main review, which is the Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur season 1, which man, I've got feelings about this, but that's gonna be the bulk of our time. So I will just throw this out here. So I think the company, I think it's like Funimation. I'm scrolling through trying to find it, but basically there's this anime, yeah, I think it's, let me see. Yeah, Funimation. So they, I guess, are a streaming service for like anime, and they're shutting down their app on April 2nd, which, you know, you would think, all right, you know, what's the big deal on that? But here's the fun kicker, is that anyone who had a personal library of digital films on the app is losing access to all their films. And so, yeah, so they're flat out just losing their library. And then because Crunchyroll isn't going to go ahead and support the feature. So I've ranted about this a little bit on reviews here and there, but I'm a if y'all can see the background there, that bookshelf is full of like art books. Like, I love having something tangible to actually hold. If I had the space for like all the collections I want to get, I wouldn't have Marvel Unlimited and like DC's app. Like, I would just have like, you know, it'd be like Bell's Castle. I would just have like a book, like you know, just like a whole room for all my shit. But this is my physical media rant, y'all. Like, this shit just bothers the ever living fuck out of me. Like it's one reason why I still buy physical stuff, because you know, I think it was, oh god, I think it was last year where Amazon sent this really weird email kind of going like, oh, hey, due to circumstances beyond our control, if you buy certain things digital, you may not be able to access them. And it's like, No, I don't want to hear that shit. If I'm giving y'all money, I should be able to access whatever the fuck I want. And I would never tell anyone to pirate anything. Because that's wrong. But this is the shit I'm talking about. Like, what sort of assurances do you have that you're spending your money, you actually own the shit you buy? And it's just, and considering how many episodes the animes have, I like, oh man, like if they pulled One Piece from my ass and I bought the whole series in one, I'd be fucking furious.
Yeah.
That's what, 500 episodes, something like that.
It's up there.
It's the manga's up to like 1,000 chapters.
Jesus Christ! Oh my god,
it's behind the manga, but that's life. That's someone's. There's more about One Piece you can forget just by experiencing all of it, because memory is a fickle thing. That's how much that is. And the long ago, it was like, well, we should watch an anime. Let's get an anime app. And it was between Funimation and Crunchyroll. And I chose Crunchyroll. And I'm not going to be petty, like, haha, right choice, haha, or anything like that. But that apparently is what's happening today, I mean.
It's just wild, though.
I don't buy digital media because of this reason as well. So, I mean, I stream that, but yeah, that's very upsetting to hear that someone's losing their, especially for people who grew up in the 90s where you'd have to go to like these obscure record stores to find anime at all. And for the good times to come and have it be a digital library you can purchase in the blink of an eye is wonderful. And, now it's gone in the blink of an eye, and that sucks.
Yeah. So I will say I grew up in the 90s, and so sorry, I just started singing the BoJack song in my head. That's on my brain is favorite TV show. But I grew up going to Blockbuster and stuff like that. And I really do miss the actual hunting of something, of like going to a video store or comic book store and being like, hey, I'm looking for Luke Cage, or I'm looking for this, like, what would you recommend? And someone actually, walking you through like what they would recommend. My partner and Alea and I, we started a vinyl collection kind of for that reason. We like actually having something to to have. And I still buy my 4Ks. I still buy my Blu-rays if I can, because I am paranoid as fuck about this happening. I talked about it on an earlier pod, but when I lost those reviews I had in the vault, one of them was for that Disney film Crater, which I really fucking dug. And I was like, I'll just re-review that. And I was like, oh, that's right. That's one of the things that Disney Plus pulled for no fucking reason. So it's like, I did. Yeah, like, which is fucking ridiculous. It's like, why are you pulling shit that you produce in-house? Like, that's my big thing for HBO Max and the Adult Swim shit too, because they pulled Space Ghost Coast to Coast for no fucking reason, and they're just like, fuck you, like, you can't. So Brad, are you a physical media person, or do you kind of mix it up? Or
I'm a little bit of both. I'm not gonna lie. I am super physical when it comes to like comics. Like, I have to have that like in my hand. Like, I feel like of course I have like Marvel Unlimited, but that's like only because buying comics is a very expensive hobby.
Yes, it is.
So I have like a subscription service to get like the things in the middle that I miss. But I love physical media. I love holding things in my hand. I love reading books. Whether it comes to, like, I used to love like the different covers movies used to have. I don't know if that's even
yeah.
The slide on covers and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
I love those.
Even the steelbook cases, like special occasions for like games and stuff like that. That's always going to be special to me. But like, I can't lie, digital has been just such a convenient thing for me. Like, a lot of the games I buy now are digitally. I can just like do it like that instead of like waiting to buy it. But I also hate this. I hate just taking it away. Like, if you're going to give us the convenience, don't be like, nah, not anymore. You're good. Like, you can't watch this anymore.
I think my big axe to grind with my big axe to grind with digital is there's something kind of I'm going to be using this term a little bit, kind of soulless about just kind of scrolling through a bunch of titles, and it's just like, oh, just like meh, 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 meh. I actually like being able to like grab something. So to date Bradley and I here in a bit, I still remember when games came with manuals. Like there were, I remember there was an actual paper manual that you would have on how to play the fucking game, and then game studios were like, oh, this manual is money. Fuck that. It's like you can go on this website or scan this QR code to learn how to play. It's like, wow,
the transition when that happened, like when it would be like a full manual you could read, and then it was like just like 2 pages, or sometimes not even anything in the box anymore.
It's just like God. It's like God, and I will say too, especially with games being $70 now, like for them to have the balls to not give us a game manual is kind of rich to me. Like, wow, you expect me to pay more, and you're cutting jobs left and right, which to anyone who's been laid off because of these greedy corporations, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry you're going through this shit. The game industry right now just seems, man, I don't know, man. So actually, let's talk about that a little bit. So, what is it? Ubisoft has Skull and Bones coming out. I'm gonna be real, y'all. So, there's a group chat that all 3 of us are in. If only y'all could see that group chat, but Skull and Bones is coming out next week, and I know we've been roasting Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I have a couple friends who bought the deluxe edition, and they are just beside themselves. Like it's a buyer's remorse, like a motherfucker for them. I will say I'm not crazy about Ubisoft just really as a company, to be honest. Like they've just like, even for a game studio, they just said shit where I go. I think it was their CEO who came out recently and was basically like, well, gamers are going to need to be comfortable with not owning the games they buy. Yeah. I'm just like, dude, why are you saying that right before a giant launch for a game that's been 7 years in the making? Like, what is wrong with you? And so I watched an in-depth gameplay video about it, and all I just kept thinking is, man, it would be really cool if I could be a pirate and actually get in sword fights. Like, why the fuck are you limiting this to just ship combat? Like, am I wrong?
No, I agree. That the whole pirate experience. That's why you buy themed games like that, right?
Yeah, like it just seems like such a massive, like Sea of Thieves. I think you can do that in Sea of Thieves. I haven't played Sea of Thieves. I think you can.
That's the big
one. There was a Sid Meier game way back in the day where you could do everything, even be like a total prick.
Yeah.
Fly colors with allegiance to Spain and then attack Spain ships and be like, I don't know, I guess a pirate did it. And
which, I mean, see, that sounds great. And it's really weird too, because I've been playing, it's been really hard playing games over the last couple years, just because I'll see something that looks interesting, or I'll be like, oh, and I'll buy it, and then I look through my games log, and I'm like, oh my god, there's so many games, I don't even know where to start. And so I just kind of started playing. I got to shout out Brandon. He told me about this game On Guard, which, oh my god, I'm playing the fuck out of On Guard. On Guard, fucking, it's so good. But then I started picking up Black Flag, and that's a Ubisoft game. And you can do sword fights in that. And so the concept that they went, oh, here's a game where you can create yourself as a pirate, but not do sword fighting, it's just like, it makes it doubly worse, because I would think you would connect this giant ass dot. And so, like, I'm torn, because I don't want the game to fail, because I know that there's people who spent, and how much control these people really have when, you're being yelled at by, some fucker behind a desk. Like, I understand that they can only do so much, but I don't think it's looking good. Like, just going through comments and just what I'm seeing on social media, people seem very, it's giving me Duke Nukem Forever vibes, if I'm being honest.
Oh, that's
like,
really bad.
Like, it feels like a game that just people are like, y'all just took too long on this shit, and I don't care anymore. And Sea of Thieves, I think Sea of Thieves is like on season like 9 or 10 or something like that. Like that game still has a fan base, and it's still it's kind of crazy because like I, as someone who's an Avengers apologist as far as the game, I think I look at something like No Man's Sky, which had such a rough fucking launch, and they were like, "Oh no, we're gonna steer the course, stay the course, and we're gonna fix this shit." And No Man's Sky has been fucking amazing. That from people that I've talked to who are really into it.
People love that game. The same like with Cyberpunk now, like it had a horrible launch, but now like they fixed it, and now people seem to be like, "This is actually a really good game now."
I tried a couple times Cyberpunk and it just kept shutting down on me, and I was just like, I'm not reinstalling this again for you to just not work. Like that actually frustrates me more because I have to wait for it to install, and it's just like, God damn it. I might get around to it again. So I mean, I bought it in Steam, and Steam was basically like, well, you've owned it for too long. It's like, all right, clearly this is my fault, not but I don't know, like I see that, and I mean, as far as games are coming out soon, what is it? I think it's Rise of the Ronin that's coming out.
That's next month, I want to say.
Yeah, that looks fantastic. That's something I'm actually really excited to play. What was that new Star Wars game? That I'm blanking on the name. Yeah, that looks fun.
Yeah. I'm hoping good for that. I think EA is kind of like Ubisoft now. Like they're both kind of like the worst video game companies. They make terrible decisions, but every now and then they have a winner. They put out a good game, and I'm mad at them for like, why don't you always do this?
I'm so terrified about that Iron Man game they're making because I can see them being like, "Oh man, you want to be able to fly? Oh, you have to buy the deluxe edition of the game."
The whole time, you don't even get to see the suit.
Start rocket boot pack for flight. Yeah,
I could see that, and that
the bundle package.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that honestly terrifies me. One last thing I'll just throw out, just because there's have a monopoly on the shit. I bought last year's Madden on Black Friday, and I was like, all right, like there's no workaround this. Like I have to, but the game is so broken that if you have like it subs out your best players when you get into the playoffs, and so you have to play basically your scrub lineup. Like you can't even play with your best players in the playoff. It's like the most ridiculous fucking thing. And it's a common, like if you look on Reddit, it's a common like problem that people post about over and over and upvoted and all that. And just radio silence from EA. They're just like, oh, what are you gonna do? It's like, God damn it. Like
that's them with like all their yearly sports games. Like there's always something like wrong with it, like slightly, like something that they changed that they didn't need to change in the first place, and it's just they keep doing it year after year.
Yeah, it's just like, what the fuck. Like I'll be real, like I've talked about the whole WWE scandals that are going on right now. I'm torn as fuck about getting WWE 2K24 because that's out next month. And I'm like, oh, a new wrestling game, and I'm like, do I really want to buy this right now?
Cody Rhodes on the cover and everything,
dude. Right? Like Cody Rhodes. They're like, oh, finish your story. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like, do you want to apparently they might remove Vince McMahon and Brock Lesnar from the game, which like.
Wait. Is Kurt Angle still in WWE games? Does he still get...
So he's on like a Legends deal. So yeah, he was in last year's game.
Okay.
I'm a big Kurt Angle nerd. Like I fucking love me some Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle's great, but it's just I know we've talked about it a little bit in the chat, but man, that whole scandal is just like the more shit comes out about that, it's like and it's like the worst time for them as a business. Like, oh, we're on the road to WrestleMania. Oh, pay no attention. Like, they're actually doing that press conference here in a bit, which apparently, The Rock's gonna be there, which I'm sure he'll be super cool and not shitty about all of this. Like, has there been another celebrity, like maybe Will Smith, that's like taken this tumble this quick after being so beloved? Because like, you think about it, like his brand was, I'm the cool, relatable guy who happens to be richer than you. Like, that was very much Dwayne Johnson's, brand. And now people, like, after that Black Adam flop, and people were like, wait, you just brought Cavill back in the fold to use as a chess piece to basically take over DC, and it didn't work. Oh wow, you kind of suck. Okay. Brad, I know we've kind of talked about it, man. Like, kind of your thoughts on that? Like, can't hear you.
That's interesting you bring that up, that Cody Rhodes is the new Henry Cavill and The Rock's terrible brand management of his empire. I shouldn't say terrible, because like you said, he's incredibly wealthy, and he always sticks at it, and that's his tenacity is very impressive. But to misread the room this bad, I keep thinking this has to be planned. There has to be something coming up where The Rock turns it into like a triple threat, or some way to make it more lucrative for him. Like, there's no way that someone who became a self-made billionaire, I'm pretty sure The Rock is, maybe I have to Google that, could hear all the boos, see all the response tweets, listen to all the people who even love him, like, can you give that back to Cody, please? And not see opportunity here for something even bigger than screwing over a legacy wrestler like this.
I think there is this almost sociopathic level to be liked. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of it. And I think part of that is them. I think part of that is projection. Because like Will Smith, I mean, I grew up with Will Smith. I remember when Fresh Prince was like the biggest thing, on TV, first ever rap Grammy. Like, Will Smith had, I like when Independence Day came out, I remember that shit blowing my mind. It was like, oh my God, this movie, like he was a cultural, icon. And I would say he still is, despite, the bloom being off the rose, a bit. But I do think that like, we live in such a terrible celebrity culture in the way that we just love to see celebrities like fuck up, like TMZ like really kind of helped. I don't know if help is the right term, but it's very much like enhanced that. You know what I mean? Because but it's weird now that TMZ is actually one of the more like sourceable news outlets now. Like, I would trust TMZ over Fox News, which is really sad. But I think we have these celebrities where we just want to see them fuck up. And I think most Black people kind of knew that Will Smith was almost on a ticking clock, where it's just like, Jada could only say, this much shit, and you could only take this many bad movies in a row until, something had to give, and just, it's wild to me that I went on The Rock's page, because that's my rules. Like, if I'm talking shit about a celebrity, like, I'm not gonna, like, I would never say anything on mic I wouldn't say in front of the actual person that I'm talking shit about. I know it puts all those Tyler Perry reviews in in a more hilarious light, but I went on The Rock's Instagram and I was like, oh, so, Black Adam bombs, now we all have to suffer, and it has like 800 likes at this point, which is pretty funny. It's like, and I was just kind of saying that like seriously, but kind of in jest too. But I think that for someone who tried that DC takeover, and for someone who, let's be real, has not been the box office dude that he was, 9 years ago. Because I mean, you think about like Rampage and Skyscraper. Yeah, San Andreas, that's not great either. And I know I'm missing some. Black Adam, obviously.
Yeah.
It's been kind of a box office wasteland for him for a minute, and it's so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I'm happy you brought that up. The fact that, so the irony in that is that, Vin Diesel had that allegation against him, and it's kind of been, it's been kind of like nothing since then. So I don't know if that's a one-off or if like more shit's being, I don't know how they're progressing with that. But ironically enough, The Rock might have come back at the right time, because if you're gonna kick Dom out, you could bring Hobbs back in,
God. Exactly what he would want.
And that's kind of my thing, man. So look, this is my big conspiracy theory. I think The Rock knows more about that than we even know. And I think this is him. I think this is him kind of moving the chessboard around, trying to be the new Vin Diesel, to kind of take the franchise over. That's my conspiracy theory. That's my. But it seems so on brand for him at this point, because I think he wants to be not just like a brand unto himself, but I think he does want to be running something. I think that's the only reason why he's on this TKO board now. Because, dude, the guy hasn't been back in wrestling. Like, he hasn't wrestled a match in 12 years. Like, and I think he's come back 3 times in the last 5 years, just like kind of like one-off appearances. But like, and I'm not even saying this as a dig at him, because I'll be real. Like, if I and I know a lot of wrestling fans hold some resentment towards The Rock for leaving as early as he did, because he left in like 05, I think, full time, 06 maybe. I think it was 05, but he left pretty early on. I think he was so he would have been like 30, like 35, 36 ish, something like that. And I think a lot of wrestling fans hold that against him. But it's like, what would you rather do? Be on a film set for 4 or 5 months, make 15 million, and then not have to work again for 2 years if you don't want, or be constantly hitting the mat and going through tables and shit and taking taking years? Like, what would you rather do? So I don't even begrudge him for that. Like, I do the same thing, but like, don't come back and be like, oh, I missed you guys and this is home. It's like, it's like, don't pander to us, but I digress. So so now to just jump in, so Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, it is up to season 2 now. Season 2 is on Disney Plus. I got 4 episodes into it last night. So full spoilers for season 1, just to let y'all know. So I love this show. I'm just gonna jump in here. I thought this show would be good. I'm kind of familiar. Okay, that's a lie. I've read a decent amount of Moon Girl, because I was sitting there. I was like, I can almost like picture the covers, and there's that one of her, kind of the iconic one of her kissing Devil, which is fucking adorable. It's like, oh, but she, they definitely mess with her power base a decent amount here, which I was kind of surprised by, but it actually works better for the show. So yeah, Brandon, like, what did you know about the character going into this?
I was very surface level with Moon Girl. Like, I had maybe read like her first like few like appearances, like her first appearance or so, like that cover you're talking about. Like, I remember that as well. But she wasn't a character I had really kept up with. Like, I knew she was like supposed to be one of the smartest or the smartest person in the MCU, that always, or not MCU, Marvel universe in general.
Yeah.
That always bounces around between her and like Reed Richards, I think.
It's basically those two.
Yeah, like, I was very unfamiliar, but like once I saw like that first teaser for this show, I was like, oh, I'm in.
Yeah, Canada, what about you?
Pretty much the same. I was aware of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur and saw tons of artwork. A lot of great artwork, actually. Some very cartoonish, some fun, very comic book, and then some that looked just badass. Like, any T-Rex fanatic would be like, can you put this on my back? I have $10,000. That's how awesome Devil Dinosaur looks. I didn't know the ferocity of both those characters until Marvel Snap, the phone app game, to which I became addicted. And I would
that's
usually...
right. You love that fucking game. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm off now. I'm off the sauce
Are
now
you?
because it's very
Okay.
addictive.
That was kind of your Candy
I have too
Crush
many
for a
responsibilities, but it was.
Yeah.
And I might have to check on that again.
I know you scratch yourself like Marvel. You got him that Marvel Snap thing.
Maybe they got some new variants, you know.
Yeah, Moon Girl package, yeah. But Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, two separate cards used together in certain ways, was pretty OP. And I'm not sure if as the kids say, they nerfed that or anything, but that's how I found out how just wonderful they were as a team and how relatable they were as well. Because, you know, the cards come with a lot of information and suggestions and, you know, just cool stuff you can check out. So that's pretty much my history on it until this cartoon series that came out last year sometime. I think it was last year sometime, February. It made my top 10 TV shows of the year. That's how much I loved this.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, for myself, I definitely read a couple runs of her. Like I read enough to be able to speak on her, but not enough that I could, you know, like rattle off, you know, shit about her. So I'd say like intermediate for me. But when I saw the trailer for this, last year, I was like, "Oh shit, this looks fucking fantastic!" And then you find out Lawrence Fishburne is the person who like spearheaded this. I was like, "Holy shit, Lawrence Fishburne is the one who," and I gotta say, and I mean this as a compliment, I'm really jealous of kids these days, and I say, and I realize how old man I'm sounding right now, but. You know, I've talked about it in our chat about how, you know, I mean, first off, I grew up in fucking, you know, Pismo Beach, California, where they make white people. So it was like hard enough to find a comic book shop anyway. But being a black nerd, it was hard to find merchandise. Like I couldn't find, you know, they weren't selling Black Panther merch. They weren't selling, you know, Storm merch. You know, they weren't selling, you know, like Bishop merch, you know, but kids now, because I mean, for better, for worse, because there's so much access now, you can find merch on pretty much any fandom that you love, which is amazing because, you know, Brandon and I have talked about Craig of the Creek. That's our shit. I fucking love Craig of the Creek. Like I would have killed for Craig of the Creek when I was, you know, 5, you know, and And one thing about this show that I really appreciate is that it embraces, it's one of the things I love about Bob's Burgers with Tina specifically, is that it really tells kids it's okay to be weird. And I actually wish kids would hear that more, because you're always going to be weird to someone. Take it from me, you always be weird to someone, and the show really leans into that message in a way that I thought was really inspired. And I've been talking, I know some of y'all think I collect those Marvel checks, but I've been talking shit about Disney's animation for the last couple years, because I just think I don't know what they're doing with their animation, to be very blunt. I watched Elemental last week. To be honest, that's how I felt after it was done. And I watched Witch the other day. Same thing. Like I don't know why. Like it's not Mars Needs Moms bad, but it's also like but also Disney made Mars Needs Moms, and Mars Needs Moms is fucking terrible. You know, and that was only like 15 years ago. But that's why I constantly talk about how, you know, you shouldn't want, you know, a company like AEW or TNA Wrestling to go out of business, because you don't want anyone to have monopoly on anything, let alone animation. I haven't done my best of list officially, but you know, if Disney's the only thing in town, we don't get Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. We don't get you know, we don't get Del Toro Pinocchio. We don't get Robot
Dreams.
Dreams.
Get Nimona, because Disney canceled that.
Oh shit, that's right. Yeah, we don't get that. We don't get The Boy and the Heron. Like you don't get these you don't get these projects that are more off the beaten path, that are gonna I think inspire a whole new generation of kids. But as far as this show in particular, I really love the opener. I thought the opening episode was just fantastic. It's a really simple concept. Lunella Lafayette, who great fucking name, by the way. Like that's just that's just a cool ass name. She goes ahead and builds this portal, and it goes ahead and transports this dinosaur that she names Devil to the Lower East Side, where she's living in New York. And one thing I love, or that we've talked about with Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, is that it's such an unapologetically Black representation. Like Raphael Sadiq did the music. Shout out to him, because he crushes the music in here. Holy shit. I've actually been listening to the score all week, just like when I've been like just like on downtime. And that's a brother who's been underrated for years. I'm really happy that people are starting to kind of rediscover him, almost kind of giving second life to his career. But this really reminded me of something like Scott Pilgrim, the new Scott Pilgrim show, in the way that it really uses music in a way that I went, oh wow, every battle is actually enhanced because of the music around it. It's kind of like someone played Def Jam Icon and was like, hey, how do we do this but make it not terrible? Because that's like, that really is how a lot of the fights feel. Like there's some Gambino in here, there's Raphael Sadiq, there's quite a mixture of artists. I don't think I could really tell you a favorite fight of mine, because I think I like them all for very different reasons. But I just found myself just kind of in awe of this show. Brandon, kind of your first thoughts on it.
Oh man, like same like you. That first episode, I mean, it opens with the musical number sung by Diamond White, who is also Lunella, the voice actress for Lunella.
Oh, nice! I didn't know that.
But yeah, it's amazing. It immediately sets the tone. Like you said, it's unapologetically Black, but it's like also unapologetically New York. Like it's like every kind of culture and diversity is like represented. But yeah, like the music is immediately, like the show lets you know the music is one and the same. Like you can't have one without the other. And I think that was like such a great choice for them to have like these mixtape moments, like each episode, where like she's fighting like the villain, or sometimes not even fighting a villain. Like there's like a chase scene one that's really cool. But yeah, I love this. I was a big fan of the animation studio already because of Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Underrated.
Oh, it's the same studio. Okay, that makes a lot of sense actually. Okay.
Flying Bark is their name, but yeah, they have great fight scenes in that show, and so I was super excited for what they would do here, and it has not disappointed since. I know you said you couldn't have a favorite, but I think my favorite is probably I forget the name of the episode. I think it's maybe like Mother Like Daughter, like when the rich people are trying to literally silence LES. And
that's the not Devil on Her Shoulder. That's like Mother Like Moon Girl. Yeah,
there you go. That episode. And like they literally bring back the sound like through the music. That whole sequence is like
So okay, that's a fair point, because I do love it's really funny how they kind of take the vampire versus the Bronx like plot line basically, and go like, we're gonna condense this into a 22-minute episode, because it's just all about gentrification, and to the point that they flat out say it, like they dance around it for like a bit, and then she finally just goes like, okay, I'm over this shit. It's actually it's this. And I'll be real, man, first off, so I've talked about it a little bit, but where I grew up, there's this place called San Luis Obispo, and it's a very, I don't want to say urban because again, Central Coast white people, but it's very much kind of more of an artsy type town. And I was actually just back there last year to visit, and they've definitely tried to turn it more into like this like resort kind of touristy part, like type town. But there's like certain like pockets that haven't been affected by that. One of the places being the record store that we went to. And it's so wild to see how like towns lose their identity because of that. It's like, we need to make things bigger, and there needs to be, Chipotle and all that, like Panera Bread, like, that shit. And it's really great to see an episode touch on that. There's a heavy sense of irony that this message is coming from Disney. Like, I will not like that is not lost on me. Like Disney going like, no, leave things the way they are. but the way that I think they put that through the episode, I thought was really well done. Yeah, Canada, your initial thoughts.
No, I agree with everything y'all are saying. I did want to point out that the dancing around the gentrification, the two villains in this episode literally dance around.
Yeah.
While explaining their plot in a very supportive, and we're just trying to save your trashy ass city. Yeah. And when I was like, well, there's nothing wrong with the city. And that's a lot of ignorant speak, but a lot of powerful speech they use to get what they want with their money. And I did want to point out the song The Wave. Did The Wave. I have it written down here somewhere. But these villains literally have a tool to silence people. Yeah. And since I'm watching this with kids, I'm like, let's discuss the moral, kids. This one, very aptly and easy to follow, is when your entire community is silenced, all you have is art to speak and fight back with.
Yes.
And that's so many incredibly beautiful messages in this whole series. My favorite episode fight, probably, since I'm kind of a board gaming addict and playing games with my family, it's episode 4, Check Yourself. The big song in that one is...
That's a great one, yeah.
Yeah. They fight to IDKWYCTD by Eli Paperboy Reed, or I Came to Play. And that's such a fun song. I have a couple of aggressive, competitive people in my family, including my spouse, my wife.
Is she? Is she
very much like Lunella in this, like, fun? Yeah. We're all having fun. Winning is so fun,
dude. Okay, so I know myself well. So my family and I, we used to do scene at nights, and those those game nights would get so intense. Like I still remember my siblings slamming the door because I won an all play like on my last chance, like they were or Uno nights. Like I am a competitive motherfucker. I'm a sore loser. I will admit it. I fucking hate losing. It pisses me off. And so as I'm watching episode 4, I'm like, girl, I feel you. I completely hate you not wanting to lose, even if you should lose, like, because she should lose this computer by like all intents and purposes. She should lose, and she's just like, no. Like the fact she even does her science test while she's playing the computer, I was like, oh man, she is. Great. I was like, she's in too deep now, and as I've said on the podcast before, everything will always be seen as pandering until it's commonplace. And I really appreciate the fact that the computer goes like, oh, they, them pronouns, please. And it's stated, it's simple. And then Linnell goes, oh yeah, she, her for me. And it's like, it's a subtle moment, but you just go like, that's cool. And I remember just sitting there going, I really appreciate that that's in here, and it's in here so early in the show, because if you introduce this to kids, and I do think that that's part of why there is resistance from people who are, in their 30s, 40s, whatever, now with when it comes to pronouns and stuff like that, because it feels so like, it does feel like such a like a foreign thing. But if you're introducing this to kids, when they're 10, 12, they're not even going to think about it. They're just going to go, oh, And so I appreciate that that's actually in here so that kids can hopefully just become accustomed to it. And it's like, oh, okay, what are your pronouns? I really like that that's in here. I am completely blanking on on Lunella's best friend's name. Thank you. She has 2 dads and they're fucking adorable. And I was just like, oh, I'm like, that's so sweet. And I think my favorite fight might actually outside the computer one, because I do love the computer one. The Today I Am a Woman episode. I love because it really talks about something that I think is really important, the concept of having like a perfect social media, which is unattainable, number one. But number two, the fact that I think sometimes we lose ourselves so much in the actual moment because we're trying to talk about it or post about it to use social media. And I think there is I'll be real with y'all. I am me in my 20s, and I look back on stuff, I'm like, oh God, it's like I would just share where I was all the time. I'm like, why would I do that? Why would I let someone why would I let someone know where? Because it's like, I don't know who wants to kick my ass. Like, why would I share exactly where I'm at? Someone comes through, pops me in the mouth. Now I'm like way more like, okay, I don't need to tell everyone where I'm at. Maybe I'll just go to the movies and I might tell y'all, but your state's away, you can't fly. But but at the same time, it's like I never know who's pissed off at me. So it's like, okay, maybe I shouldn't just say this shit. But I really like that message too, because I think for kids especially, I didn't have to grow up with social media. I mean, I still remember, again, to date myself, I remember MySpace, I remember when, I remember being 15, getting social media and that being a big deal. But, now you have these kids who are 6, 7 who have cell phones, and they have TikToks, which I'll be the first to admit, I think that's insane. I'm not to be a wet blanket, but you should not have a social media when you're 7 years old. There's no reason for that. At all, honestly. I think it's a little suspect even posting your kids on social media when they're kids. I just think it's a little
That's why so many celebrities always hide their babies for you don't see that child.
Well, it's weird because I would see people go why are you putting a sticker over the kid? It's like, especially if I'm a celebrity, I don't want people to know what my kid looks like. That's the last thing I would fucking want. So I get that, but I love that episode for that reason. And I think too, the actual arguments that people have in here, they don't feel manufactured. They feel very much like an argument you would have, with a friend, with a family member. Because I love my family. We've had very similar arguments, like this show presents. I went, oh, this rings familiar. So so I definitely related to it in that way. As far as the show itself, I think the first, let's see, 1, 2, 3, I think the first 5 episodes are all great. I think it hits the second gear around episode 6 when the Beyonder shows up, because that's kind of one of the the ongoing storylines. So I didn't know the Beyonder was voiced by Lawrence Fishburne, which props. I think he hides his voice very well, because you're expecting that deep, Morpheus voice, and
and super wise and earnest. Everything said with earnest. The Beyonder's hilarious, and presents himself very much so as this very better than you, egotistical. Well, how could he not be, though? That's what's also interesting about the Beyonder. Is he cosmic? You're the big MCU guy.
He's cosmic. Well, what's funny too is as soon as I saw him, because my partner, she was kind of asking me who's that? I was like, okay, so I was like, okay, so think of Star Trek's Next Gen, but think of Q. I was like, that's like the closest
That's
like
great.
comparison I can.
Yeah,
I
that's a
can
great comparison.
because like I remember watching Next Gen in real time, and I remember just watching Q. I'm like, this guy's an asshole. Like even as a kid, I'm like, this guy sucks. And like, and there, and even and I'm not really spoiling anything, but you know, he shows back up in Picard, and he's still an asshole. You're just like, God damn it, dude! Like, what is your problem? And but when the Beyonder shows up, and he's just like, oh, I'm here to learn about humanity, but also, oh yeah, if you can't win the science contest, I'm gonna wipe out humanity. No pressure. Okay, bye. It's like, dick. Like,
and at the end, he's like, JK, wasn't gonna do it anyway. Just wanted to mess with you.
and you're just like, fuck you.
Well, that was part of his trying to learn about humanity, like what humanity would go to preserve itself. Lunella being the smartest person, I think he says that, like, oh, you're the most intelligent person on the planet, so you're able to talk to me without it being infuriatingly just depressing for me, since humans are so stupid. Why are you wearing shoes, dummy? You can't feel the ground that way. Humans, am I right? And he says the most mean things.
The thing is, though, like, man, this is going to sound so dark. He's not wrong, and like, given the day, I might agree with the Beyonder. Because I mean, you know, fuck, we're in an election year. I'm already just like, man, maybe the Beyonder's right. Maybe we need to just, you know, flip the script and start over again. But I love that pressure being put on a 13-year-old girl trying to figure this shit out, and you're like, wow, okay. But there's an actual great moral to that episode of just being like, okay, you know, sometimes, because I'll be real, I hate group projects because I always feel like there's someone on a group project who just goes, you know, fuck it, the other, you know what I mean? Like there'll always be there'll always be the other people who like don't do shit, and it's like, well, fuck you, I don't want you getting an A because my hard work, but she just, the thing is, I think when you're that smart, like there is definitely that I need to do this all myself because it's the only way that it can get done. And something that Lunella learns throughout the series is that, you know, she's able to rely on people. Like she's able to rely on Casey, right? Casey?
Yeah.
She's able to rely on Casey. She's able to her and Devil have a fight the first episode that genuinely made me cry. I was like, what is happening? I was like, don't yell at the dinosaur. And I've talked about this before, but I don't know if it was Paddington 2 that broke my ass. I don't know if it's the pandemic lockdown that broke my ass. But man, it's never been easier to make me cry than it currently has been. And I actually was worried. And I already said full spoilers, so shut up, people. I got to the last 3 episodes, and Brandon gives me shit for Brandon, Jamarco, Nick over at the Afternoon Tune. Screw all of you. They give me shit for not watching a lot of horror movies, and so I was like, you know, so I'm watching this show, and I'm like, there's a couple things that are a little horror based, but whatever. I get to the Coney Island episode, the Coney Island baby episode.
Yeah,
so quick story time. I'm definitely afraid of clowns. Like if I see a scary clown, it will legit like I kind of go into shock is a little strong, but I'll have a panic attack. Like I fucking hate clowns. Clowns genuinely freak me out. When I was back in the day when I was actually so I would have been like 20. Yeah, I was helping out this youth group thing at my church, and fucking Pennywise was following us around for like 10 minutes. I finally turned around in front of my pastor at the time. I was like, "If you don't get the fuck away from me, clown, I'm gonna punch you in the fucking face." Like I feel like that Christian shit dropped quick. I was like, I will end you. It's so I'm watching this episode. And in the actual flashback that we get to like 5-year-old Lunella having this like breakdown because she loses her grandma, I was like, holy shit, this would totally scar you as a kid. Like, oh my god, you poor thing. And so what is the Beyonder's asshole do? Asshole self do? He's like, oh hey, look, your grandma's gone. Oh, all you have to do is go to the fun house that completely traumatized you. But it actually leads to a really great lesson because and I think the show does a really good job with the gimmick of Devil, because Devil could always be around and she could just seem overpowered, so she's never in danger. But they do strike this balance of like, getting him out of fights, so she has to fight more solo, or she has to use her brain more, and she's not just using her gadgets. She is actually having to think, through these fights. And so because she's with her with Casey and Grandma, Devil's not there, but it leads to a really cool parallel where Devil is afraid of water because they're a jellyfish, and he's afraid of just getting stung and like drowning, which is really dark when you think about it.
It's a legit fear. It's rational.
It totally is. And I'll be real, man. Drowning would be like my least favorite way to go. Like, I don't know, man. Drowning just sounds terrible. And so, but Devil ends up swimming across and actually getting to Lanella. And so, the moral of the story being that you don't really get over shit. You just have to kind of learn to accept it and really just kind of go through it, which I was like, that's actually a really good message for kids, like especially when it comes to stuff that that freaks you out. Because the clowns, so I was watching this at 3 a.m. like I was actually gonna go to bed at 1. I was like, okay, I'll watch the last 3 or 4 in the morning with my coffee, it's fine. And I got what happened. I got to the Devil on Her Shoulder episode where they end up shrink Devil down to like normal size.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so first off, baby Devil is like the most adorable thing in the world. And I was like, I love them so much. But then also that actually leads to a really good Ben Foster cameo, who of course was played by Lawrence Fishburne in the MCU proper. And that's one thing I have to give the show a lot of credit for, is like the MCU connections / cameos. They never feel like shoehorned in. It's like, oh, this feels actually like a I don't want to say a natural progression, but it doesn't feel like they like stop the, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like they stop the show to go, here's this cameo. It's like, oh, okay, like they happen to be here and cool. But I really love that Ben Foster cameo, and I actually thought it worked really well given the circumstances. But I love that end to episode 14. That's actually a darker episode. I think this is like TVY 7, so I mean it's for 7 and up, but it actually has some weight to it that I wasn't expecting. So I'll shoot it back to you real quick, Brad. What are a couple of your favorite episodes as far as the whole run?
Well, I've enjoyed pretty much all these episodes a lot, and I watch them a lot. They get a lot of play in my house. I have kids of varying ages who love Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Just to touch on the Coney Island, that's a great lesson in discussing why you're afraid of something, because no one conquers their fears. They just understand their fears and understand the world they live in will never be absent of that fear. So you live with it and you get stronger about living with it every day. Like the old saying, like no one's scared of the dark. People are scared of not being alone in the dark. That sort of thing. My favorite one is probably, and this is like such a silly cliche type of pitch for an episode.
Oh, I'm excited.
Because on paper it's like, nah, I don't like that. No, that's not a cliche or a gimmick that I enjoy. But I believe it's called Goodnight Moon Girl. Lanella, who is a little bit socially awkward because she's a genius and she has trouble relating to kids her age that have type of kid concerns. And she realizes through a slumber party that, hey, kids are just kids. I'm not better or worse than anyone. We're all just living in not Jersey. No disrespect to Jersey.
No disrespect to Jersey.
Hey, Kamal's in Jersey, all right?
During the sleepover, though, she creates a device to help her read minds so she can better relate to people. Which, not the best way to do that. That just, makes her more socially awkward. But she starts brain switching with Devil, who turns out to be more relatable and a better partier.
Oh,
and
which
she
was
does.
so funny.
And it's the funniest episode, I think, is this one. And it also shows that a lot of kids, you know, it's been a long time since I've been in the junior high or high school scenario, but I was always of the impression, being a big introvert myself, that these kids are just waiting to find out why I'm weird and will destroy me for it.
Yeah.
The lesson in this episode is that's not true at all. That is a media lie. And and people want to like you and be liked in return. And putting yourself out there is scary, but you can do it. It's a simple episode with a simple message that's actually quite profound. I know that affects adults into their old age sometime, that type of fear. So,
dude, you are
loved
so.
it.
So I was actually talking to Alay about this the other day. I brought you. I really brought up every guy in the chat, but I brought up you two and Jamarco, Nick specifically. But I was like, man, like basically whenever I make a new guy friend, like it's basically like I'm basically Paul Rudd and I love you, man. Where I'm like, oh god, I hope they like me, or oh god, are they gonna run away or just like ghost me? And it's it's like because it's been way easier to talk to like women throughout my whole life. So it's like I get a guy friend, it's like, oh, that's so cool. So I actually felt this episode so much because I still remember my first slumber party being terrified. Because it's like, you know, you're not with your own shit. You're in a house that has, like, I think people forget that when you move into a new house, especially, you have to get used to like the new sounds and everything of that house, like especially at night and shit. It's like, it's like what, you know, it's like, oh, what was that? It's like, you know, so it's like, it's, but so it's like it's a whole different thing. But I love that episode for that reason. Brandon, what about you?
Oh man, just like you guys said, like every episode is like really great. And like the morals are always like really good. But I think my favorite, I'm looking besides the like Mother Like Moon Girl, probably be Skip the Ad Adolescence.
Yes.
Because this is another good message. Like, don't rush through things. You don't need to skip things. The slow things or the things you might find boring can also be like the best part of your day sometimes. Like, you talked, Hunter, about like the family aspect in this show, and this one is like a dad-centered episode. He's kind of like he's the goofy, clumsy dad. He's not as on the same level as roller skating as anybody in the family, but this episode they're competing in a father and daughter roller skating thing. But Lunella gets tired of like certain things like very quickly. She once again creates a device that probably is not a good idea
at all.
The Good Night Moon Girl episode, Casey like always calls her out. She's like, maybe this isn't a good idea. You don't
Which
need to
I love that she's that like that they have that relationship, because Casey will check her ass and be like, girl, like this is the horrendous idea.
Exactly. And but yeah, this episode is like really great because it's Lunella accidentally creates a time travel device basically, and she's zooming through life. Is working well so far, but just like all things, it has to come crashing down, and like it starts skipping on its own. So like she's skipping moments that she would have liked to be involved in. She's missing inside jokes with her family. She missed the what is it, Mission Unlikely film with Tom Brady.
Yeah, that was really funny.
Just to butt in, that one hit really hard for my daughter. For me, I'm like, oof. But for my daughter, she was so upset because we started binging the Mission Unlikely in Our World films just 2 years ago. And we saw the one this summer that was great and she loved it. So when Lunella missed that moment with her dad, she was horrified. My daughter, and I'm like, oh, awesome. You're going to get this episode in spades then. You're going to get the moral. And don't be upset. Yeah, it'll work.
But cry, but also you get it.
But yeah, I absolutely love the lesson Lunella has to learn here. Like she immediately regrets her decision. And we get like that amazing music moment, like with is Bill Withers, right? Like just the two of us. And it's just amazing. We get that moment on top of like cool in-universe lore moments. Like when she's fast forwarding like too much, you see like a a devil-looking moon girl. We see like her at prom with like her nemesis is kind of like dumb. What's his name? I forget.
Yeah, with Eduardo or something
Eduardo,
like that.
yeah. She had to do the project with him. And then we also see like a cool Days of Future Past like homage.
Yes,
Like,
I love that Easter egg. That was
and a
so
bunch of
cool.
like Easter eggs heroes. I think like Blue Marvel was there. I
Looked
think
like
oh,
like
wow.
Cloak and,
Yeah.
like it might have been Cloak and Dagger.
yeah.
Yeah.
A bunch of cool Easter eggs in that one episode. But yeah, it's a great episode for Lunella and her father, and I don't know, just episodes like that I think become my favorite with like centered on the family.
It's funny that man, like the use the horror that they put, like the fear of AI in that episode, I was like, oh man, that is like it's just enough that as a, and again, I actually appreciate that that's an episode for kids, and kids are gonna kind of go like, maybe I don't use the AI feature on like on my shit, because the way the AI goes, oh, don't worry, I found a way to basically click myself from being destroyed. You're welcome. And she's like, what the, like, it was like, oh man, all right. And I was like, this is a kid show, like, props on it. But damn, I think for me, I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I love Moon Girl's Day Off. I think that's a great fucking episode because it really, I think it tells kids, and honestly, it tells adults. I've talked about, I haven't been working for like the last what are you at, like 6 weeks or so. But one thing that my brain and like my body has been like is like, dude, like you need to kind of catch up on the last, on the sleep that you haven't been getting for the last year, basically. But it really tells kids like, hey, don't overwhelm yourself. It's okay to take a break, which I think is something that gets so lost in daily translation. Like we don't tell each other that we need to actually take care of our mental health, that we need to actually slow down sometimes. It's okay to, set these boundaries and just go like, look, I can't do this today. And that involves anything, whether that's I know for myself a boundary I had to really start setting with people probably a decade ago because I just wasn't sleeping. As I was having people go like, oh dude, I have this going on, and then it would kind of like trauma dump on me, and it's like, okay, I need you to like not do that all the time. All the time. Sometimes I need to just take have time for myself, and I really appreciate that. That's a really hard message that they hammer home. I love the Teacher's Pet episode because I love the design on the Rat King. I thought that was our boy. That was
is that David Diggs?
Yeah, that was Diggs. He first off, great job voicing. He was on Central Park too, which got canceled, which was sad, but it got 3 seasons, so that's same as Ted Lasso for now. But
apparently a lot for a streaming service show. Yeah,
dude, seriously, man, like it feels like a lot of these shows, like if you get 3 seasons, like you got 8 on Netflix. Yeah, which is crazy. But they have this she has the class pet, this hamster. The hamster, first off, adorable. And then you get him and Devil teaming up, which is something I just went, yep, this is great. All this is wonderful. But that music sequence in particular, because the rats look fucking creepy. Like that was something that I was like, wow, like a lot of this has a lot more horror elements for kids than I was expecting. Like it's kind of Monster House-ish in that way.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, the design on this is really actually sticking with me. But I love that episode, and I love the fact that each episode does have like not just a different moral attached to it, but each episode does have different. It has similar pacing, but the pacing is definitely different as far as like given the story that you're working with. I bring up those episodes to get to the last 2. Thank God this got a season 2 because they reveal that there's an original Moon Girl and that it was her grandma. And the way that they do that, I was like, holy, like it's one of those things I just didn't even think about. So when they actually revealed it, I was like, fuck, that's clever. Okay. That actually like and I was actually kind of mad at myself for just not thinking about it, because I do try to like not put shit together. I do try to actually just like watch whatever as the media kind of presents itself to me. But the way that they actually go, oh, it's her, I was like, oh, well, shit, okay, yeah, this makes sense. And when you think about, and then you kind of start playing the season back in your head, and you're like, well, yeah, the hideout was always clean. I never saw Linnell really clean it. Oh, because Mimi discovered it like episode 4, and when it's like going down when she's off with Devil, like cleaning it up and shit. You're like, that actually logically makes sense. And there's a point where Devil's sleeping, and she just is just down in there vacuuming. And he's just like, oh, hey, what's up? And it's like, okay, yeah, Devil would be comfortable enough with her. Like, this all makes, like, it's not far-fetched in the way that they present it. You just go, yeah, okay, this actually does make sense. And I gotta give them a lot of credit for that, because you are kind of waiting for that other shoe to drop as far as like, are we going to get more to that kind of that origin? And then when you get into Mimi's origin, as far as what she was creating, it's very sci-fi. It's very basic sci-fi in that sense. But man, that shit was tragic. Like, I was like sitting there like, wow, this is a bummer. Like, she wanted to do something good, and talking about Black people in science, that's a whole other, like, that could fill its own podcast right there. But the way that they are just immediately pushed out, like, oh, hey, you created this amazing thing. Oh, we're gonna just like push you out, exit stage left, and we're gonna take credit for for your shit. And oh, everyone happens to be white who's taking your, like, oh yeah, this
big, strong white men. It's good that you said that, because visually the gags are amazing. That Mimi this whole time, since episode 4 at least, has known about Lunella and what she's doing, and has been helping, and not just through keeping her cave clean, or kind of off the hand giving her ideas, or trying to help her realize her true potential like a grandmother would, but through the own family she's raised. They have supported Lunella in becoming this strong character
so much.
And then flashback to this brilliant young woman scientist who's a part of the Black community, and who is then ignored for her contributions and also set aside. She's literally visually and contextually a hidden figure.
Yeah.
And that ties into the whole, well, the song especially that they play.
To
hit that home run home, it's a beautiful finale, 2-part finale, I'll say. Yeah.
The OMG issue 1, the first part, where actually no, I think it would have been the second part. Well, basically the episode where they show her and her husband getting together. That's when I started like. That's why I started like putting the pillow up to my face. I'm like, okay, don't wake Leia up, and I'll just sit there just crying my ass off, because it's basically kind of what they did with Up, without the tragic ending, thankfully. But it's like this little mini movie within the episode, and you just go like, oh my god, they've built this life together. That's just, and the way that the roller rink comes into play, you're like, oh, that's why it's so important. Oh god damn, like, and I just kept sitting there watching, and I'm like, oh, you, like, it's so expertly crafted, and you can clearly tell they wrote this in the front, where I almost feel like they're like, okay, we know where this season needs to end, but then it's like, okay, now it's just about retracing our steps, because everything is so well laid out that I actually went back and watched a couple of the earlier episodes, knowing the context, and you're like, oh, they are dropping these little hints here and there about who she is, and playing it back. You go, okay, yeah, you guys knew what you were doing. Brandon, yeah, kind of your thoughts on the 2-parter.
Man, that 2-parter is a doozy. Even going back to the Coney Island episode, it leaves off on like a little cliffhanger. The Beyonders says something to Mimi along the lines like, oh, you're gonna tell her your secret or something like that. And I'm like, what? But yeah, OMG issue 1 and 2 is just fantastic. Like it ties back everything we've had like this season with Moon Girl's arc, the family oriented thing, like meshing with like the superhero world, which is always a fun concept. Like you get that a lot with the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I felt like Mimi was very much like an Aunt May type. Like I would argue that Mimi probably knew Lunella was Moon Girl since episode 1. Like,
yeah, I think you
in
make
where
that
they're
argument.
looking at the flagpole, like she has a look of admiration on her face that is just like, yeah, she knows.
Yeah.
But yeah, these last 2 episodes broke my heart in the best way. Of course, I was like, when I was watching, this was before season 2 was announced, I think. And so I was like, God, this better get a season 2. If this doesn't get a season 2, I would be riding at Disney. I'd be on their lawn every morning.
They're watching it weekly in my house. And I have a 5-6-year-old. And there's a cliffhanger between the finale part 1 and 2, which could lead to horribly tragic events. So I say, oh, it'll be fine. Don't worry. Everything's going to work out. And my older kids are like, I don't think you should tell them that with this show. There's going to be like a part 2 is going to be like, and this is how we remember our loved ones.
Oh,
like, oh no, what if?
Oh, that's the thing. Though. Like when you think about, you know, I know I've brought this example up in the chat, but like when you think about How to Train Your Dragon, like Hiccup loses his, like that's a big deal in the kids film. You're like, oh my god, like that's a big consequence for a kids film. And as I'm sitting there, like as I was watching part 2, I'm sitting there and going, okay, so there's this portal, and just, you know, going by science fiction rules, you're like, okay, you have to close it, obviously. But then I was sitting there going, wait, oh shit, there's 2, but oh crap, it's one of them having to be in the port. And so when she goes, like, one of us has to be on the other side, I was like, oh god damn it. And I immediately just started getting really upset because I went, oh my gosh, she's gonna have to do this. And then when she goes, you know, I love you to the moon and back, first off,
beautiful. Beautiful.
But also I was like, oh man, if this hadn't got a second season and this is where you ended it, holy shit, I would have been beyond furious. But it's a bummer ending. Like I actually have to give the show a ton of credit for that. And unlike The Flash, it doesn't undo it within like the first 5 minutes. It actually like he actually has to get out of this space she's in. I'm just starting. Like I said, I'm only 4 episodes in season 2, but I will say the premiere is a really great season 2 premiere episode.
Yeah, I'm
okay. So
a rewatch, but like I'm excited to get into season 2.
I'm excited for you to get into it, but it's a tragic ass ending, and I was actually very surprised in the best way that there's a consequence that has some weight to it. And I would say if you are going to show this to your kids, like just kind of like maybe let them know immediately after that there's more because it really was something that I just was not expecting. And then the actual design on the creatures that are coming through the portal, I thought was very like kind of like creature from the Black Lagoon, very like Universal Monster, like you know, very creature feature inspired, which I really liked. Like I really liked this. Like it really kind of gave this creepy aura to everything. But yeah, I mean, getting to my final thoughts here before I throw it back to y'all. I was just happy watching this. Like right. I will be the first to admit, yeah, the you know, the finale is like it's rough. The ending of part 1, Lunella has her lab blown up, and like I actually took a picture of it on my phone. There's this shot of her just on her knees looking like towards the fire, and I was just like, god damn. And it's like it's a brutal ass, and like Devil's still in the basement, so you're like, oh shit, did the dinosaur get blown up? So like there's this like there's so much shit where you're like, oh crap, what's going on? And it really does feel like a gut punch when you get when you get to that moment, but the moment feels incredibly earned as well. I know we haven't mentioned him because I just forgot to mention him, but the villain Maris was it Morlock?
Morlock or something like that, right?
Morlock, yeah. Well, it's funny because he has connections to Adam Warlock, because I was like, I know that name. But yeah, he has connections to Adam Warlock in the comics.
Voiced by Wesley Snipes in this too.
Oh, is that is Wesley? Is that really Wesley Snipes?
Wesley Snipes.
Oh, let's go. The voice actors we get for this is pretty wild too.
That's one thing we haven't talked about yet, but there's so many great like voice actors in this. Like Alison Brie plays the first villain in episode 1, Aftershock. And just of course Wesley Snipes, and just so many great voice actors in the show.
Yeah, that's wild. I did not know that was Wesley. Oh, that's so cool. I will say too, there is a cameo from an Avenger that Brandon, like, thank you for not spoiling it for me, but when they showed up, I heard that Avengers theme, like I was like, dude, that could wake me up. That theme could wake me up from like a coma. I was like, I know that theme. I was like, where? Who's here? And then like who shows up? I was like, oh shit, let's go. Like I squealed. I was very excited. Hopefully they're back in season 2 at some point, because that would make me happy.
Connections they do are really good. Like you get a bunch of Shield name drops throughout, and then finally like Maria Hill shows up.
I was really happy to see.
I was like, that's cool.
Yeah, and the fact that Casey lost her texting privileges because she's just like was blowing up her phone, like what a kid would do. Honestly, like a kid would be texting someone from Shield, just be like, oh my god, look at this. Yeah, like oh my god, look at this meme, and like yeah, you would totally do that. But I love that. But but really just like kind of wrapping up here. We're stalling a bit for Canada to get back, but there are very few shows I have adoration for. I was thinking back to like my favorite season 1s of shows. So like off the top, like Atlanta season 1, The Wire season 1, Justified season 1. Goddamn, what else? Right. X-Men season 1, I would definitely say. Vicious, which for those of y'all who haven't seen Vicious, that's a
really good show.
Oh, I fucking love Vicious. Vicious is amazing. Yeah. I can use radio, I throw in there. I throw in like Marital Children. There's been some season 1s that feel like that you're like, oh wow, this show is like, this is a great floor, and I feel like you can only get better in season 2. And that's what this feels like. This feels like this is incredible. Let me be clear. This is an amazing season 1, but I do feel like there is room for it to potentially even be better somehow in season 2. But I just I adore this show so much, and Lawrence Fishburne, just props to him, because I'd love to talk to him and just know how much like he was putting into this, because he's like producing it, he's voice acting in it, like I don't know how much he's involved with like the stories and all that, but he, like, his fingerprints are all over this, and this is clearly a labor of love, like very much like something like Adventure Time. Oh yeah, Adventure Time season 1, I would definitely throw that in there. I definitely throw in like something like Craig of the Creek. I think this would be a perfect companion piece with Craig of the Creek. Like if you watch, like if you watch this and Craig of the Creek for Black History Month, I think you're golden. Like I think this would be 2 great shows that you could watch like together and not lose the thread. But I was really trying to think of like complaints. Like, and also, and I've been thinking about like for like the last day and a half, and I don't really have anything like glaring, honestly. I think the first episode's like 43 minutes.
little longer than the rest of the episode.
Yeah, which I think it's actually necessary to kind of set your foundation and like introduce everybody and all that, and kind of give you like a sense of the pulse of the show.
Yeah.
I think that's actually, I think it's actually a very smart call that they did that. But oh, and I did want to mention this comment too. I did want to mention episode 2, which is the Burrow Bully episode, because
Yes.
yeah, I think that's the one that uses Gambino in the final fight, and I love that. I love the use of Gambino in that. I was like, oh, that's so cool. But also, it's a really good message, I think, for young girls especially, to be like, hey, unfortunately, you're gonna have really shitty people potentially say shit on your social media, and you need to learn to just like. And I can't believe I'm going to reference this terrible artist, but you got to just shake it off, if you will. But I really like because, and there have been other shows I've done this where you'll get like 99 great comments, but it's that one negative comment that you fixate on. Yeah. But I love the way that she kind of has to work through that, and the fact that it's a literal troll. I was like, oh, that's great. I was like, I appreciate that show. Well done. But
Casey has like the best advice. She's like, just brush it off. You don't need to like listen to everything, all the negative comments, and like they even doubled down like on the hair episode. Like, Black girls, like you don't need to straighten your hair. You don't need to appease other people because of what they think about your hair. Just take care of it and love your hair.
But that's also like such a thing that that Black people do like struggle with, as far as like our hair being part of our identity and it being too Black, and so I really appreciate that episode is in there as well. But just kind of wrapping up here. I mean, our highest grade on the show is a fan-fucking-tastic. I mean, that's what I'm rolling with for this, because I really don't have any complaints about it. I was really, and again, I've been thinking about trying to find some, and I actually went through and like, for what it's worth, it's 100% on Rotten Tomatoes with let me see how many. Doesn't show how many reviews, sadly, but 100%, and then 94% audience score. Like, I mean, goddamn, you can't, like, it doesn't get much better than that. But I really just adore this show, and I think there's so much that kids can learn from this. It's really nice too. In Canada, like I've bitched about this to Bradley multiple times in our multiple conversations, that I hate shows that talk down kids. It's like my biggest pet peeve, because I think Hollywood has this like whorish level of like, oh, it's just for kids. We'll just put bright colors on the screen and like gold, talking goldfish, or or dogs as cops. Well, we don't have to try. Fuck kids, but this actually feels like it has something to say, and that there are people who are actually inspired to say it. So, I gotta. Oh my god, the guy who voices Devil is like the whitest looking dude ever.
Dude, he's one of those voice actors who's everywhere. Fred Tasticore, right? Like,
yeah,
this is the Hulk a lot in things, but you look at his IMDb, you're gonna recognize something you've seen.
Fucking Gary Anthony Williams is Pops. I did not know. Oh my god, goddamn. Yeah, wow, props. Yeah, I'm looking through this voice cast. Goddamn, Alfre Woodard. Oh, that makes sense. She's me. Okay, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Actually, playing it back now. Okay,
essential right there.
Yeah, but fan-fucking-tastic on this. Genuine admiration for the show. I will have y'all back if you get through season 2 by the end of the month. We'll run this back. But I love this show, man. Like I've been. it's been really nice, and I've been recommending this to my friends with kids, and they've watched it and they've been like, oh dude, like I'm having so much fun with this. I was like, it's something that you can watch with your kids, which is really cool. I wouldn't go younger than 7 personally, because there is some horror stuff, like, you know, that I actually was kind of surprised that's in the show, and I mean that as a compliment. So I mean, I wouldn't show this like a, you know, a 5-year-old, because I think that clown shit alone might might be enough to make him go like, but yeah, I really adore this show. So yeah, fan fucking tastic for me. Brandon, I'll kick it to you next. Yeah, your final thoughts and your grade.
Man, yeah, I love the show. It exceeded my expectations when I first started watching it. I only love it more upon rewatches, and like you, I'm trying to get everybody I know to watch it, like, because if you don't know, they just dumped the whole season 2 on Disney Plus at once.
Yeah.
Last season they were doing weekly, but you know, streaming services and animation nowadays, they just want to dump everything all at once to see how many people really gauge it at that point. So I hope this does well enough to get a season 3. Like we said, this is really like a labor of love. You can tell the people who made this really love making this. Like there's a bunch of cool behind the scenes stuff you can look up of them, like storyboarding the mixtape moments and all that kind of jazz. But yeah, this is great. If you were looking for a street level hero that is not heavily connected to the MCU, that also has great animation and just unabashedly like cool, like in ways that other things aren't cool. I don't know how to explain. Like this show has its own style, and I think this is one of those special shows that knew what it was like minute 1. Like
I agree.
And just kind of wanted to build on that, and I don't know, just see how far they can take it. So I'm excited to see what they get up to in season 2. Yeah, I love Moon Girl. I would definitely put this in the same boat as like Craig of the Creek. Definitely has some of that Adventure Time energy at sometimes. Like there's a lot of just out of context moments that I save on my phone because the image is so funny. But yeah, I agree with you. This is fan fucking tastic. I constantly listen to the soundtrack because it's that good. I'm trying to think what else I can say about this show. I don't know. I just freaking love this show. More people watch it.
Yeah. So yeah, season 2 is up on Disney Plus now. I'm gonna probably be I'm shooting for us to do Watchmen next week, but I'm gonna probably take Friday to tomorrow, and so I watched some of this with both of my cats because they're both like I put on Bob's Burgers or like a Marvel movie form, and they both like stopped what they were doing and actively turned to like watch the screen, and I actually like paid attention to it. So for those of you who have pets, this might be a great virtual babysitter for them too. But yeah, right on. Canada, your final thoughts and grades, sir.
Well, like I said, I watch about 30, 40 new TV shows each year. And there's a lot, and especially now that streaming's a thing.
Yeah.
Hoo boy. And this was in my top 10. You know, it's beautiful visually and musicality. Is that a word? It's perfect.
Sure.
When, you know, these fights are a representation of an emotion, a vibe, a mood, a feeling. And that's done through art and music, and it's perfect. You know, this is the argument for why comics are different than, you know, the animated medium, and
yes,
very well done. So not that I'm trying to knock one against the other, just there are different ways to tell the stories of these characters.
Absolutely.
And this one understands how to do that and animated in the most perfect way. Love this studio. Big fan of Rise as well. Brandon brought that up earlier. And it's so funny. There's jokes coming out of all different types of walks of life that are so perfect. I grew up in a family where several of my siblings wanted to be educators. My brother was an educator. 2 of his best friends were educators. There's an episode where a teacher infiltrates Lunella's school by being a substitute.
Yeah.
And after day one, she was like, the villain was like, I can't do this shit anymore. This is horrible. And the other teachers in the teachers' lounge, yeah, the teachers in the teachers' lounge are like, you got this. You got this. You know, we got your back. It's always rough the first day. And that was a really touching, sweet moment and a great joke, because it is a very under-respected profession, unfortunately.
Yeah,
that requires so much. You give
so much patience.
Exactly.
So much patience.
So that's a great joke. All the villains are fun. There's so many Marvel Easter eggs in this, and they're not pandering. I never felt like, oh, now I got to go out and buy that while watching this.
That is a huge thing with you. So that's like the biggest compliment you can pay the show.
So yeah, I think it's perfect. It's I do have kids younger than 7 that I let watch this. And sometimes, like I said in the review, I regret that, because he was very upset several times during the more heavier moments. But if you're willing, and I know that's rough, and that's to each parent their own, if you're willing to have those hard conversations, then maybe. If you're not, perfect, lots of respect. I don't want to have lots of conversations with my kids about certain aspects of life that I don't feel that we should talk about yet.
I get that.
Very ambiguous. So, yeah, 7 Up is pretty perfect on this. And, you know, speaking to your kids is hard enough. What with their crazy lingo. I said on fleek the other day, and they looked at me like I was 1,000 years old. I'm like, isn't that recent? I thought that was recent.
Oh man, that makes me so, dude. I don't even try to keep up on lingo anymore. I'm just like I'll hear something and I'm like, I'm gonna just assume this is outdated now since I've heard about it. Like, I
asked my oldest, like, is skibbity toilet a thing? And he looks at me and he's like, it is. And I'm like, you're not trolling me? That actually is. And he's like, no one says trolling anymore. And I'm like, damn it.
Yeah. Oh, do people not say troll? See, I didn't even know that. Oh God,
I guess not people his age, at least. But yeah,
man. As I'm inching closer to 40,
this
is why I'm just not.
Is that a thing? No cap is what I should have said. I guess.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh God. See, all this is just making me go like, see, this is why. Like, the amount of time it took me to learn how to like make a TikTok using a green screen, I was like, God damn, this is just. I was like, this is not. It shouldn't be this difficult.
It's not getting better. I'm 26 and I can't get on TikTok. I know barely any of the lingo going on, so I don't know what that tells about me or about our culture. But yeah,
I know the dance to Champion of Light and Herald of Darkness, so I guess I'm pretty cool in quotes.
Yeah.
I don't even know what either of those things are. See, that's how I'll see. This is just I'm done. It's over. I'm just but that was Moon Girl Devil Dinosaur, y'all. So I'm gonna be back tomorrow talking about my top 10 best of 2023. Finally, Jesus Christ. And I'm gonna be reviewing Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Hooray! Which is really good. Maybe it's better than good. Who knows? You'll find out tomorrow. But yeah, but I'm right, exactly. Cliffhanger season 2. But I'm definitely gonna have these guys back next week for Watchmen. I just haven't had a chance to get through my initial watch of that, and I feel like that's gonna be a pretty dense show, so I want to spread that out a little bit. I still remember it opening up with the Ku Klux Klan, so I'm like, I don't really want to binge watch it. I might need like 4 days, like 2 episodes a day. I'll probably take it.
Oh, sure. What a crazy and fictional thing that happened in Tulsa, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Yeah. There wouldn't be any statues of any Confederates in any of these places, right? You guys know Robert E. Lee was a loser, right?
What are these lies you tell?
It's okay. Real quick on that, I will say. So when I lived in Austin, I actually got thrown out of my history class because it was Texas history, which Well, because you have to take Texas history in college, which even when my counselor told me that, I was like, really? He was like, yeah. I was like, oh, that seems problematic. And he was like, why is that? And I was like, well, dude, come on, like just a quick Google of Texas history. But basically, my teacher threw me out because they're like, well, if we were our own country, we'd be number 1 in this, number 6 in this, number 8, and I'm like, I'm sitting there going, okay, so you don't want to be a part of the U.S. is what you're saying. And he's like, no, I'm just saying if we were. I'm like, no, like the way you're saying it, it really sounds like you don't want Texas to be a part of the U.S. And then it just escalated from there. And yeah, but people just those statues, they don't need to be in public places. And I'll just leave it there until we review Watchmen, because I'll have a lot more
about. Come watch.
But y'all, I'll be back. I'll be on here tomorrow talking about my top 10 for 2023. My worst of for 2023 is already up. A lot of bad spy movies last year, y'all. A lot of bad spy movies. Holy shit. Kind of the theme of 2023. But I'll reviews up so that's up on the channel now. You can find the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts: SoundCloud, Apple, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, TuneUp, and Samsung Podcasts at The Real Pineapple. You can find me on find the show on YouTube at The Real Pineapple. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/The Real Pineapple, and you can find me on Letterboxd. Yeah, I still use Letterboxd. You can find me at Black Shazam. And then you can find the show. You can find me on the TikTok and Instagram at JHunterRealPineapple. That's REEL Pineapple. Bradley, please tell the people where they can find you.
Hello. Yes, don't have a Twitter anymore, but you can find me on Instagram. I think it's at Bradley of Martin. It's pretty empty there. Sometimes I post my Letterboxd reviews, which I think is also at Bradley of Martin.
It is, yeah. I like that. I know your socials.
I'm terrible with the socials. And I'm also mostly a contributor at oneofus.net. And sometimes I'll be on the afternoon tune. Not really, though. I have a hard time committing to that one because of my hectic life schedule. And that's a bummer for me and for all of you, because I'm sure my contributions would be amazing.
Really, we're the ones who are listening out.
Yeah.
Yeah, take that, Nick. I got Bradley did the show. Oh man. Oh yeah, actually, speaking of the afternoon tune, I'm gonna be on there Sunday. I forgot about that. I'm gonna be on Sunday talking about the Super Bowl. Apparently we're getting our first Deadpool 3 trailer during the Super Bowl, so that'll be a reason for me to actually watch and not see Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce hug when the NFL rigs. I mean, when the Chiefs beat the 49ers this Sunday.
Do you think that's for the better? Because who wants to find out that Brock Purdy is getting hate mail from tweens? Not the biggest Brock Purdy or Niners fan myself, except CMC, but they don't need that hate speech in their life.
So okay, so we have a few minutes. I no, honestly, fuck it, let's talk about it.
Swarm season 2, Brock Purdy and the Swifties.
I'm so torn because I like Patrick Mahomes, but I also see that there's a world where he could become like Black Tom Brady, where he's just like I'm like, I didn't win, I'm supposed to win, and I see that villain, like that turn to the dark side happening. Pun intended. I could see him becoming more. If you're listening on audio, I wish you could see the look of disapproval on Brandon's face right now. But
him and Andy Reid haven't cheated yet.
I mean, yet. But I mean, who knows?
That's not inevitable either.
I mean, is it not? Because I mean, like what's because let's be I mean because I looked up like what was it Travis Kelce's jersey sales went up like 300%, something like that, since he's been dating Taylor Swift. And look, I think it was you, Brad, who was like, are they even dating? And I was like, okay, that's kind of a conspiracy. But the more I see them together, I'm like, man, are they dating? Maybe they're not dating. Maybe this is all just like
they're playing game. They're playing their own
yeah,
game.
like maybe they are. Maybe this is just a platonic relationship that they're just like, sure, we're fucking. Wink.
And that's fine too. Consenting adults should be consenting adults.
Oh, absolutely.
I think the scrutiny of, well, that's horrible, is what's weird to me. Like, there's so many people, and people can post what they want on the internet, obviously, but like, their love is pure and as driven snow, and like, really? I mean, they don't even go to each other's events all the time. They're like, nah, I don't feel like it. If I told my wife, nah, I don't feel like coming to the room when you call me, that's a fight. That's an argument.
Right.
And they're just like, Thanksgiving? Nah, I'm not doing Thanksgiving with your family. Fuck them. For him to be like, that's fine. I don't care about that. That's like, people get divorced over that shit. So maybe they're quote unquote in love, but they're not marriage in love with that kind of behavior.
I don't even know if that's like, I'll be real, man. I don't know if that's even friend love. Because like I've had friends do concerts and stuff, and I'll leave my castle for that shit. But it's like, like she has a fucking private jet. You're telling me she can't make this game, or he can't fly first class and go to the Grammys? It's like,
literally, yeah. And that's why their love story is so silly. And I don't mean silly as in it's not important. Love is important. But people to be like, they're just a boy and a girl that are in love. I'm like, if I called my wife right now and said, you want sushi? Okay, which one? We got to go before 6. We got to go before 6 if we're going to get to Lethbridge, though. Which one in Lethbridge? Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce can be like, you want to have sushi? Which country? No, anytime we want. Literally anytime we want, anywhere we want. You're a billionaire. We could do a couple hits. We could hit a couple countries, So no, it's not the same. Is all I'm saying.
Like I don't like it's weird though. Like, well, because one of my Nick, I think we all know Nick. He posted because I fuck, I can talk about this. So the Eras Tour film is hitting Disney Plus on like March. I think it's March 13th or March 15th, something like that. And so that's hitting in March, and then I've got Rebel Moon Part 2 hitting in April, and I posted, I was like, oh man, it's gonna be a rough spring for the Real Pineapple. That's 2 films I don't want to see back-to-back months. And Nick posted like, man, you seem like you post more about celebrities that you hate more than the ones that you love. I'm like, yeah, because sadly, like I was like, there really hasn't been anything Marvel related. Denzel's not doing anything right now. Paramore put out their album, so I'm like, all the celebrities I kind of like are almost in like hibernation right now. But it's like I've been seeing Taylor Swift everywhere, and I just can't escape her because I have friends that are posting about her constantly. You know what I mean? Like as much shit as I give Nathan for his Top Gun and Better Call Saul love, even that's like calmed down a little bit. But my friends that are Swifties, y'all, it is like daily, like it's like daily it's basically daily horoscopes, but it's Taylor Swift at this point. So it's like I'm seeing her like to a point I've had to just like unfollow people or mute them because I'm just like I can't keep seeing her every like she's gonna creep into my subconscious at some point. So so yeah, it's just it's a lot. But as far as the game, like I liked Joe Montana as a kid. I'm a Panthers fan, so I'm just in misery mode right now because we're going to be bad for a while.
Niners win would be a CMC win, and he was on the Panthers, if I'm not
And
mistaken.
I love CMC, and he had to sit through a lot of bad years with the Panthers, so I'd be happy for him.
They really should have tried to develop around him.
I agree. So I would be happy for him if he were to get a ring, and it would just be funny if Brock Purdy got one before Dak Prescott. That would just make me laugh.
I mean, I would. I shouldn't root for it, but to have a quarterback excel with that low pay and honestly not that many accolades on paper, other than this season, maybe that would finally cause the switch to flip in Jerry Jones' brain, where he can see that, a team where you give $400 million to a quarterback over 5 years is a bad thing, especially one who's getting injured all the time.
Yeah,
he's done it twice now. He's done it twice now. He did it with Romo. Now he's doing it with Prescott. I like Prescott a lot. I like Romo. Not a lot. I didn't like him a lot because he did blow an easy entry into the Super Bowl with you guys remember that missed kick, right? Where
I do, where they fumbled. Yeah, I remember.
And then we're supposed to feel sorry for him for not doing a place kicker's job well. He's the quarterback.
Dude, he had prime Des Bryant too. I think people forget about that. He had Des Bryant in his prime. He had DeMarco Murray. He used to be a great fucking running back. They had him. They had Jason Witten. Like
they had a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, and they just they cowboyed. Brandon, Brandon, do you care? Do you care who wins, or
I do not, honestly, man. I wish I cared more. I am always surrounded by family and friends who are super into sports, and I love super into sports, and I love watching them be super into sports. But I do not love watching sports.
That's fair. That's fair.
Do you understand the competitive nature of it, though? Or are you all like, this is ridiculous?
Oh, no. I definitely understand that because,
because if I was like, well, Luffy could beat Goku.
Exactly. Like, when I think about it in anime terms or movie terms,
we're all competitive
best thing ever.
That's why we survive.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I always look more forward to the Super Bowl commercials than I do the actual game because I know I'll get at least one movie trailer that'll get me hyped, and I'll go, "Oh shit!" We might get a look maybe at Sonic 3. That would be cool. Like I'd like to. I mean, I'll say Deadpool. Deadpool 3. I think is in my top. I think I was in the number 5 most anticipated film. I think it's right behind Love Lies Bleeding and Maxine. We might get a Maxine look. That would be cool. I wouldn't mind it.
I think there are rumors of a Maxine trailer.
Yeah, so that'd be cool. But for the most part, I'm over here on the West Coast. So I see 49ers shit everywhere anyway, so people will just be more annoying about it than they already are, which fine, I guess. but I grew up around a bunch of Laker fans, so it's I'm not, it's I'm used to this, so whatever, I guess. I'm at that point though where I just don't want to see the same team win over and over again, which is why Tom Brady just started to piss me off. And so it's I really wanted a Ravens Lions Super Bowl. That's what I wanted. I was two teams from cities that desperately need a win.
Absolutely.
It's Baltimore's so bad the Wire takes place there. They deserve a Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, it's whatever to me. It's which team of millionaires is gonna win? This diamond encrusted ring. So it's at the end of the day, it's who
not my squad.
Yeah, but I digress. But Brandon, Bradley, thank you so much for making the time. I really appreciate y'all stopping by. I look forward to talking to you guys again next week for Watchmen. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Oh yeah, I totally forgot I'm streaming this too. So I'm streaming on tomorrow about my top 10 best of, and then Monday the 12th, so day after the Super Bowl, I'll be recapping the Super Bowl at what's that gonna be, 3 p.m. 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. I'll be reviewing the Super Bowl, talking about the trailers that we hopefully got, and I'll be reviewing First Kid, because hell yeah.
Yeah.
Because Sinbad is great, and he deserves his flowers. So I'll be talking about First Kid. But everyone, thank you so much for listening, everyone, and have a good night. Take care.